By the way, the other thing I started today was the initial budget preparation. I'll talk about when that open session is. All right, it's 5 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order with a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Evening, everyone. All right, first thing on the agenda is minutes from 6/7 and 6/22. This is just for the non-public section. Or 6/2 rather. So the only thing I know we looked it over, number 6 needs to be corrected. We didn't discuss selling a truck. We discussed selling the truck body.
For Roger, can you state what it should say? Maybe?
Instead of truck, it should say truck body.
Yeah,
Okay.
the board discussed selling a truck body, and I thought we were gonna send it to Dyers for an estimate, not Shaker Valley. We did the estimate for installing it. I don't know what.
The estimate from Shaker Valley was on the body panels, that's what you guys wanted, was the price.
Okay, so that's why I went there.
Yeah, that's why Shaker Valley,
Okay, so just then, we discussed selling the truck body.
yep, yeah, so the truck.
I added the words body. And, you know, Roger, don't worry about it, I'll change it here.
Okay,
So I need a motion to accept as corrected from June 7th. I'll do 11. I'll do 11. No,
I'll make a motion as corrected.
I'll second the motion as corrected.
all in favor?
Aye.
And the June 2nd minutes, we have to sign, they are for non-public. Well, there is public action at the tail end of the one. The non-public minutes. So. We get a motion accepted.
I'll put a motion to accept the
I'll
minutes.
second that.
So the page on the June 7th can be corrected without affecting the signature page, so we can still sign it.
Okay.
All right. So before we get on to what's listed on the agenda, we, last meeting, we voted to form a committee and we picked members of the community to be on the committee to review applications for the town administrator. So I believe all 5 individuals are here. And if you could just introduce yourselves so everybody knows who you are.
Tom Milligan. Thomas Opal.
Sadie Wells.
Jessica Grace. Catherine Souza.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for stepping up. We had quite a few people, were interested in doing that. We've got nearly 50 applicants in for the town administrator position. So, hopefully you guys can sort through it and come up with 5 people that we can interview, is what we like to see a minimum of. If you can come up with more, if you get to a point that you get through them all and you're not finding anybody, please let us know so we can relist the listing. But we're gonna give you the folder and let you go through it yourself. So, okay. So I've got a folder for each of you for with all the applicants in it. And then you guys we're pretty much leaving it in your hands. So
Figure out when to meet with each other and how to make the process happen.
yeah, we'd like to get something back by the end of July at the early, at the latest. Again, if you get through it sooner with, needing more applicants, let us know because we will get it listed again. So,
Do they all have contacts for each other already?
what's that?
Do they all have contacts for each other?
Was
or
that-
do I need
did,
to get that to them?
Gloria, give that to you in the email as far as contact between each other?
Email addresses only.
Okay, so you've got that, so you can share phone numbers or not, so.
Yeah, Tom.
Yes,
Uh, So are we to interview these people?
no,
No, they can interview.
okay, I thought you were gonna review the application.
Yeah, no, I think they should be able to interview and, to come up with applicants.
So what does the board expect us to do then in terms of evaluating, understanding these applicants?
So we're looking for a town administrator, so we're leaving it in your hands on what you feel that is, so.
Yeah, are we just gonna do it off of paper?
No,
That's
like,
fine.
my feeling is you guys can interview them and
Yeah, I don't care if they interview. So honestly, I would be all right with that. If you guys met together, I think if it were me, how I would approach it is if the 5 of you met together, come up with a general consensus, all of you weed through the applications. Find what seem like they're the most qualified to even begin an interview process with, if you wanted to reach out to them and interview them. And then narrow it down from there and bring us 5 that are the most qualified for what we're looking for.
And so is there a job description in there that says the skill set and things that you're looking for? Is
we
that in
do
the
have a
folder?
job description.
So
I don't think it's in here. I will get it to you.
There is a job description.
Yes, yeah, but you'll get it not tonight.
Doesn't Gloria have the job description?
Yes, she does. You just don't have it here, that's all.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that'd be good, that's my suggestion.
No, that's a good suggestion.
And if nothing else, I think patience between all of us in this process to get it started. It's kind of the first time I think we've done this sort of a process in our town. And we have a lot of applicants, which is a good thing in some ways, but we'll see how many of them are even qualified. But I guess that would be one thing. If you folks get together and you realize there's something you need from the board, reach out to us. We'll make sure you have it, so you can make best use of your time with the applicants.
Does the open door law apply to us if we get together?
Oh, yeah, no, you're not making you're making a recommendation, you're not making a decision.
Right.
So I think you guys can get together.
It falls under 91A anyway,
I didn't hear what.
because it
It
doesn't.
falls under 91A, she's saying.
It doesn't have to be public because it involves personnel hiring. Right?
Yeah.
That's my understanding, so.
But you're making a recommendation.
Yeah,
you're not hiring.
General stuff you can, like qualifications and that kind of stuff, but when you get down to talking to individual people, then.
I can't hear what she said.
She's saying, because it's personnel, it's,
When you talk about individual people, that's
Right.
part of it, there's a bunch of general things, like if you were to talk about the qualifications for the job, it really isn't their purview anyway, that's the question.
I was gonna say, it's just a liaison committee.
they're coming up with a recommendation for us
That's
to
it.
interview. So, yeah.
Call it a pre-qualification.
Right, it's basically a first round of interviews to sort through the,
So we don't have to interview it.
that's right.
I have a quick question, do these people have to go through FBI background check?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, because I was just gonna suggest you might want to have, if that were the case, you might want to have complete that.
We will do a background check when we come down with a final decision, but
Yeah.
that's not this part of this part.
Right.
So, we do background checks on almost everybody we hire, so
Yeah.
if not everybody.
So we do it with anybody that has in particular any contact with kids. We have to,
I think on this particular one, I'm going to suggest that, and I think Stephen's on the
Yeah.
same page, when we come down to the final applicants. If it's a clear choice of one, then that'll be the person that we do a background check on it. If there are 2 of them that are equally qualified, maybe the background check and some digging into it might be help with part of our
Yeah.
decision, but definitely whoever the administrator is, in my opinion, will have a background check done and we're gonna look into
But
where
that's,
they fit.
that's the way.
I mean, no, you're not gonna find the perfect person. I mean, we just want to find the best person. So.
Do you want these recommendations ranked in order that we evaluate them or not, or?
If you think you can do that with the 5 of you, then that'd be great. If not, then, again, it's if you can come up with 5, that would be awesome. So
What
that's
if
what
we
we're looking
only
for.
come up with 3?
Then you only come up with 3, and we did make a decision whether we're gonna relist it and try to get some more people out there, so.
Depending on how good the qualifications are.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
well, yeah.
that would be a great problem to have, so, in my
Right.
opinion, so.
You know, guys, my thoughts on the committee was this. The 5 of you understand a lot of the wants and needs in our town. You understand part of the history of our town, where our town's been, where we're hoping it's gonna go. Collectively, put your minds together and figure out what you think we need as an administrator with the times coming forward. You know, what's going on in the world, match those thoughts and thought processes with the candidates that we have, and try to pick the best 5 people for the town of Canaan. And it is a very specific need. That's all.
Have you all discussed, and this may be premature, but have you all discussed when it gets to the point of offering a position to someone, a term of the contract? And then, no,
Yeah,
I'm
we
not
have.
talking about amount of money, I'm talking about a length of the contract.
We have,
We have talked about that.
You have talked
Yeah.
about.
Indeed. So does that make sense to you kind of where we're at to start the process?
End of July is really a pretty short turnaround on this. I'm not
Again,
sure, I'm not sure.
open communication. If you can't do it, then you're gonna have to come back and say, hey, listen, this is where we are. And that's, again,
It's vacation time for people
understood.
and.
That's what we're shooting for, Tom.
Yeah.
And the reason being, right, the process has kind of lasted a while as it is. But the last thing I think that we want to do is collect all of us together and get all of our thought process together, and then all of a sudden start feeling rushed. So I think it's a general consensus. We would like to shoot for that time frame. We're hopeful for that. But if that isn't a time frame that's realistic to be able to really come up with a qualified candidate, we'd rather not just throw a dart at the dartboard. If we need another couple weeks, let us know.
Yeah, just let us know ahead of time. That's all.
Has there been any consideration given to an interim?
Not at
I
this
have
point.
put a lot
I
of
mean,
consideration into that, but
Well, my thought is Steve's new, Dan's relatively new, Scott's leaving.
That's correct.
There are other people in the town government that are leaving.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of change going on right
Yes, it is.
now. It seems to me really risky to bring in somebody with all of this going on. If an interim were here for a year or so, then all this could kind of be sorted out and whoever winds up with the job knows who the players are and what's going on.
We can discuss whether we're gonna do that or not later, but that's.
The goal is
we're
to try
asking-
to,
yeah, that's not
we're
what
looking
asking
to,
for.
we're looking to find a town administrator if we can.
Yeah.
If it gets to the point where we have to go to interim, then we will, but I think the town administrator is gonna be key in with the select board and taking the town where we want to go with it too, so.
Has the committee been presented with a set of guidelines that they need to follow in this process? So one, they're asking the correct questions that you're looking for the answers to. And 2, they're not asking questions that they cannot ask.
We have not, because it's not a formal hiring process, it's a recommendation, seeking recommendation, so.
Because I'm
I
just
mean,
thinking,
yeah, I mean, there's definitely,
you may kick somebody out, or you may accidentally ask the wrong question that legally can't be asked, and then you're in a.
I guess that's gonna come down to the level of the committee, in my opinion, is, the people, I don't know all of them, but based on what I saw from their letters that they wrote to us, they all have experience with hiring and that process, so knowing the ADA quote unquote, non-askable questions, if that's what you're getting at, then.
so I think I feel comfortable that we selected a responsible group of people that when they get to that point, they will then make sure that they've crossed their Ts and dotted their Is. I think we've got 5 people from a little bit of different aspects of our community, which is what I was hoping for, and I know the board as a whole. And I mean, Hugh, I get it, and I'm with you, and I think that's a good point. So, I think we've got some responsible people on this committee. So I would have to trust that when they get to a spot that might be a sticky point for them, that they'll know that. And at that point, I don't know. But I would, my personal thoughts are, and I don't know if, you know, you keep just spreading this out further and further and further, but if you guys weed through the 50 applications and then are gonna interview 20, or if you guys want to do the interview process, I think that's something you should discuss between yourselves. Figure out if you guys want to interview these people first before you send them to us, or if you just want to narrow it down and present those people to us. I think that's something I'm relying on the committee to use their judgment for. Jessica?
I was thinking that character is a big part of this, and the reason that you were choosing different kinds of us is because it wasn't so much formality, but it's some kinds of us bringing different pieces to this, where we're not going in all formal, but we're going through these papers and saying, you know, this is what we think, this is what we see, and then maybe you'll let us come in on the end and see the personality besides the paper, because I think that, to me, personality and character is huge and it can come across on paper. So I feel like that's like gonna be part of it in the end. And I think, you know, we'll all know amongst ourselves, well, you know, in any business, there's confidentiality. If we're gonna talk amongst ourselves, we're not gonna get on Facebook and say, hey, we went through this pile of paper with all this stuff today, let me tell you about it. We're gonna put our minds together, we're gonna come to you and say, okay, maybe we chose this stack of 10. And I feel like from my perspective, I would love to see the people behind the paper also to conform that decision.
Sure, so
I would agree with that, Jessica.
I agree. And then, you know, maybe we put further discussion into that you guys are privy to the actual interview process with the finalists.
Sharon?
Judith Kushner online says maybe get some help from the municipal association about review.
Well, that's where I was just gonna go. If you get to a point where you think it's questionable, we can always.
Again, it's gonna be open communication
Legal
between them.
counsel, yeah.
I have another suggestion. Enfield, I know it's a different position, but Enfield recently hired a town manager and they had a citizen committee do that as well. So you might want to reach out to people in Enfield and see how they handle that.
We had an application came in the other day from Italy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That might bring in a little different.
No, for the highway department.
Are we on the wrong side of the street?
Well, they're used to roads being this wide.
I think it's very interesting how many people that have applied. And I have combed through as many of those as I can, and there are some qualified on paper.
Is there some place we can meet together?
So there's the meeting room downstairs in the town office. You just gotta schedule the use of it, that's all.
That's true, man.
Yeah,
You
that's
just
for sure.
email me and I'll set that up for you.
This room can be used. I think
Yeah, you
The health
can-
center usually has space up there.
You got the meeting house?
Just
The meeting
gotta
house.
schedule the timing, that's all.
Theoretically, the fire station as well.
Pretty much anywhere you want. Tom.
So we,
Or electronically.
anything we schedule through.
This room is through me, not this room, the conference room is through me, this room is through the police department, Lisa Davis. Again, if you wanna email me, I'll contact whoever you want me to contact. I'm the scheduler lady.
All right,
And so Mike, you'll send the information about a job description that's been sent to us.
I'll have Gloria do it. So,
Gloria?
yeah, I'll follow up with Gloria tomorrow morning.
Talk to her first, because I don't think she's got the latest one that came out.
Okay.
It's got dates on it, which is.
the one that we changed.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think she has that one. so-
Okay.
Okay,
So yeah, we will get you guys the job description, Stevens.
Do you expect to get any more applications in?
and do we have a deadline on the applications?
I mean, there's still,
No.
it's not posted anyplace right now, so, but we did, like Scott said, we had one come in.
It's posted online, so
Oh, is it really?
no one's told me to take it down, so I
Okay.
take it down.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Would you like me to take it down? Or leave it up?
Why don't you leave it up till the 1st of July and then
Yeah.
take it down? All right, any other questions on that?
Thank you.
Thank you all for doing this.
Yeah, thank you, guys, and we look forward to just being in touch. And again, if you need anything, reach out to us. Do you all have our emails?
I'll have Gloria put it on the same email to you tomorrow. So.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll give all our contact information and my cell number is everywhere, so I don't mind if you have that as well. If you wanted to contact me, I'm okay with that.
Is there some place here we could, the five of us could get together
Right now,
over here?
Yeah, honestly, I'm sure you could. Yeah. Honestly, probably right out in the kitchen right here, I'm guessing. It's just right around this corner. It's a nice
At the end of the
spot.
hall.
The kitchen is a good gathering spot. and-
Yeah, I might wanna ask. Can you text, is Lisa still here?
Not sure this one, but
You want me to show you guys where the kitchen is?
I know where it is, I can show you.
All right.
Would it be okay if we went now?
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unless you wanna stay through all the other enjoyable things on the.
Yes. Leave now. Thank you guys very much, and honestly, I look forward to seeing what you come up with. I think it's a good pick.
All right, next thing on the agenda is the Moose Grant, Mascoma Valley Press Preservation, so. Judith, I believe that's you.
Yes, hi,
Hi, Judith.
hi. If you have any questions, I think I noted that we hadn't received written estimates when I sent that in to be shared with you all, but we do have them now, so.
Can you go through the project, Judith? with us?
Sure. This is a Moose Plate grant for rehabilitation of the town-owned 1923 Canaan freight shed. And what we want to do with this grant is to address the worst, the sides of the building that are in the worst condition before we have further loss. Because there has been no maintenance on the building for decades, which has meant that the clapboards and trim look awful. The interior, the structure is good. It's the exterior needs work. And so the side that faces the rail trail and the gable end that faces east or faces Concord, I guess, are the two worst sides, and that's what we're going to be working on. In addition, we want to have the two lunette windows. Those are the eyebrow shaped windows. We want to have those made so that, you're looking at an image of the grant? Yeah,
I don't have.
so that's part of the grant as well.
So what's been done so far?
Well, so far we have a repaired roof. So that, when you look at a building, the first thing you want to do is take care of the roof. The siding, the sills, we definitely want those done by the end of, we'd like those done by the end of this year. And then next would be the siding. So we did get the roof repaired, which is great. They did even more than we expected them to. And MVP volunteers have been weed whacking. We took down the rotten deck that faces the rail trail because that, yeah. And if anybody tried to walk on that deck, that would have been dangerous.
So this new grant won't start until they finish the sills, that process?
That's right, that's right. And the grant, should we be awarded this grant, we'll know by the end of the summer, early fall. And because of the amount that we're requesting, the total available per request this year is $20,000, which is what we're asking for. Because of that amount, that once the Division of Historical Resources approves a grant request, it then will go to the council, the governor's council, and they have to approve it before the money is released.
Okay.
So we probably will know by the fall whether or not we've been approved for the Moose Plate by the Division of Historical Resources, but because of the amount we wait for the governor's approval. The council and the governor's approval. And that won't come until probably toward the end of the year. We'd like this work to be done next year, by the fall, if not likely before that.
Judith, I had a couple of questions.
Sure.
I appreciate your efforts and I think it is, it is a historic building and, but who are you working with? Who is recommending what work needs to be done on the building and what priority the work needs to be done? Do you have anyone you're working with?
Sure. I mean, we've met with 3 contractors so far. And, the first things first was the roof, because there were some major holes in the roof. And so, that's really first up for any old building, I think. You want to make sure there's no leaking. And then, we've more recently spoken with 2 contractors. The sills need to be repaired, and before the clapboards and any of the trim, any of the those elevations can be repaired, you need the sills to be secure. And so that's, that comes next.
So do you mind letting me know who the contractors are that you spoke with?
Sure. Well, obviously for the roof, we talked with, this goes back in history now, but of course, most recently with Leon Shabat, you know him. And I'm sorry, it's going to be, before that, we were thinking of just either protecting it with some form of tarp or re-roofing it with regular shingles. I'm sorry, I can't think of his name right now, great guy. And then we've also had Tim Baker, who's a timber frame. Do you know him?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, come and look at the sill. We expect him to be doing that work. And Travis Moulton, most recently for the clapboards trim. And then Arch Weathers, he's the fellow who has rehabilitated or redone the windows for the town's historical museum. And I think he's right now working on storm windows for the historical museum. So Arch, yeah.
Would you mind, for the sake of time at our meeting tonight, would you mind just putting together an email and shooting me an email? You often send me an email here and there on it, and if you could, just who the contractors are that you're talking with, and yeah, I'd appreciate it. I guess.
Okay. So the only other thing I'll say is that there will be a slight change in the numbers, adding $30. And so I'll make that correction in the budget. And other than that, what you've received is what we'll send in, except for the estimates, which I have now. So.
Okay.
Thank you.
So are there any other questions or?
Anybody have any questions? All right, thank you, Judith.
Thank you, and I'll send the note directly to you, Dan.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Judith.
Okay, thanks. Thank you and good night.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Yeah, you too.
Next thing on the agenda, Cody Hussey wants to request to rename road War Bonnet Road. Which road was that? Was that, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, hey, Cody Hussey, thanks for correcting me my last name spelling. Didn't want to relive high school. Yeah, so War Bonnet Road, not familiar with it, old Camp War Bonnet. It's a property owned by Robert Vandal, or was until my wife and I bought it in January. And we've had several issues. Of course, the name is not really representative of who we are as a town at all. Secondly, there's like 3 different names depending on which mapping platform you look at. It's either Richard Vandal Road, War Bonnet, one word, War Bonnet 2 words, and then Crow's Run Road, which is some other historic camp road that existed there. So we are the only property owners on the road, and we're hoping to kind of rebrand and relaunch the camp for next summer. And so we're hoping to rename that to Little Bud Lane.
To what, Little Bud?
Little Bud, B-U-D, as in like buddy, you know, little camper. Whippersnapper. And so that was the request there, just so we can start building out the signs and whatever the cost is, of course, we're happy to cover. I think there was just some, like, last meeting, someone mentioned, so a little bit of administrative overhead. Other than that, we're happy
To
to.
go before John, the planning board for that, do.
I
John
believe,
Bergeron.
it has to go to planning board, I believe so.
John, does that go before you?
It doesn't have to, no.
Okay.
I don't have a problem.
Yeah,
For either.
I personally don't mind. Yeah, I appreciate.
I know it's gonna be changed for 911 and
Yeah,
and that sort of stuff, but
I think it's awesome. You guys are taking some interest in that property. That's a
Yeah,
cool
we've
place
been
down
working
there,
on it
right?
a few months now, so.
did you buy all of it? Cause I mean, I know it got chopped up some.
It got chopped up. This is his largest last remaining
Okay.
parcel. It's about 12 acres. It has 5 bunkhouses, 20 bunks total. And we built about, 6 or 7 tent sites as well. So,
Nice.
So are you looking to do some sort of a little summer camp or more
Yeah.
of a campground?
more family camping.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yes.
All right.
Good to go to there.
Sure. Want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I will second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
All
guys.
right.
The only caution I would have is that if you're gonna have it as a campground, that does have to go before the planning board. And the other thing is you do need to run the name by the 911 folks to make sure the state is happy with the name.
We'll do that, John. And camping permits and approval will come later. We're not expecting to do it till next year. Next
Right.
summer.
Yeah, when you guys get closer, come see us again.
All right. Next thing, sale and repair of highway truck body. What's up?
In the truck package that you've got, I showed you a bill or a proposal from Shaker Valley for what it would cost to put that truck body back together to sell it.
That's the 3,400 you were talking
Yeah,
about.
that's the 3,400. And just the comment is that the range for the strip down one is anywhere from 1,100 to roughly 3,500. For one that's got all the parts attached to it, it's about 4,500. So if you're gonna try to sell it, if they're gonna put it together, it's gonna cost them $3,400, $3,400. I think a realistic price is gonna be somewhere between 1,000 to 2,000. And I don't know if you wanna weigh in on Louis, help yourself.
Yeah, that actually sounds about right. I talked to Dylan first and he said that, yeah, the price is gone right up.
So how many, we have a certain amount of brand new parts that were just purchased through
Yes.
insurance.
Yep.
What is the dollar amount attached to those parts?
I think it was like $3,000.
So
Why don't we
You
start?
got the full $3,000. You got the full $3,000 from the insurance company.
right.
So you're really not out of pocket on the part.
So if we started at $3,000 and somebody had to put about $3,400 into it, or $3,000 into it, they'd have about $6,000 into their bed by the time they're done.
And nobody, if you Google it, you're not gonna find anybody at that price.
All right. So what was the number? 2,000?
Well, I don't, you really wanna, I mean, what I would do is give them the parts, some of the parts and the truck body for $1,000 or pick a number. I mean, I don't know that we wanna really get into business, but it's up to
I'll
you.
buy it all if you sell it for $1,000.
Okay, but I'm just saying, one way to do
I
it.
get a second on that?
The easiest money I made all day.
I don't care which way you go, it's just, it's another project for us to do.
I mean, the
no,
value is $3,000. I mean, 2,500 is a good deal on it, so in my opinion, so. And we could probably move it pretty quickly, so.
I think so too.
For 1,000, like he says, you know, somebody could turn it and flip it and make 1,000 on it, so.
Yeah.
Lou, you wanna weigh in?
Yeah, they're probably gonna have to do quite a bit of work before they can make money. I talked to, like I said, I talked to John, he's got one down there with 80 miles on it. It's a Ford, but still a brand new body. I mean, he's only asking, I think it was like $1,200.
They're basically worth nothing right
I
now.
said basically.
So,
Otherwise, it's gonna go into storage in our garage or something.
Yeah.
It's going up in the pit. The rest of that stuff.
It isn't gonna add any value.
but then just
I'm
let it
fine.
go to John.
Yep.
I mean,
I don't know what time it is.
unfortunately, we don't have anybody that could list it separately because, you know, my goal is to make as much money off everything in this town as we possibly can. That's my goal. So what are the checks and balances and where do you start losing money if, instead of making it when you have somebody paying attention to listing things? But it seems to me like maybe we could list those pieces that we got from the insurance company individually. And if somebody needed a body shop somewhere, needed a side bed for a truck, we could probably get. Or I don't know, I mean, just a thought process to throw out before we just
So-
slam the door on it.
So who answers the,
That's what I mean,
who
does
answers
that,
the
right?
emails, who
When does it
sets
start
up the
costing
deal,
you
collects the
more
money?
Yeah,
I don't know. I think if we can get rid of it for $1,000, I think we're,
Well, try a little
Everything, yeah.
higher, maybe Alfred.
I don't care. I
I'm
mean,
negotiating with Dan as well.
if you could put it, if you put it on the market for $2,500 and we get a grand offer for it, that's fine. But I mean,
Or.
Or whatever.
Or 2,000,
Yeah.
yeah.
I want
I think if
to
we-
move it, but I also
think if
want,
we-
to Dan's point, I don't want to just give it away. and,
We're
you
gonna
know,
advertise it as a body plus the price to go with. it,
yes,
And we'll offer it for how much?
$2,500.
Okay, is that consensus?
Yeah. we'll start there.
And so it's a 2017 body,
16.
16 body. And then I think it's, you know, so I will say there are people that work on the highway department that are very versed with marketplace and know how to list things properly and all of that. So maybe we consult on somebody to do a good listing. So we can make some money off this thing.
If you guys wanna take the responsibility, it's fine with me. It's up to
Yeah,
you.
do you guys care if I work on putting the listing
Right
together?
Go right ahead.
Say it again? What did
I'd rather
say?
you do it for free than pay them to do it, so.
Yeah, yeah. Mhm. What are you saying, Hugh?
Well, there's one on the marketplace that almost has the same thing for $1,000.
There you go, but it doesn't have $3,000 worth of parts to fix it, right? Yep. Okay,
All right, repair and retention of dump truck body, delivery of new truck not until next year.
So we have a dump truck that's due to be delivered in 22, but it's not gonna make it in 22. I'm talking with Louis. He says that the dump truck that we didn't use as a trade-in, the truck is still running fine, but the dump body on it is toast. It's just rusted out. So we've tried to look online to find a dump body, thinking, well, if we can get a dump body for a reasonable price, and the prices are roughly in the $4,000 to $9,000 range for a dump body. So if we can find a dump body that we might very well be able to get another 2 or 3 years out of it, which starts the CAP program. So far, the problem is the sander that's in it is not your normal run-of-the-mill sanding box. It's sand, you know, it's the sand is designed for it.
what is it?
They call it a 4-season body.
Yeah.
And it tips
Right,
to the
side,
sand.
right.
So, so far, Louis been looking to see if we can find, and you couldn't find anything. I did a quick check and I couldn't.
I did end up finding one.
You did? How much?
$15,000.
Okay.
How many yard is that?
10
10 yard? Yeah. What is it, on that 6-wheeler? Is that the one that, is it on your truck, Dale?
The one that's got the chloride.
No, it's on
The old,
in national.
okay, so a 10-yard dump body. And we're looking for something with a side sander. Right?
That piece, I think, and maybe you guys can tell me better because my memory isn't good on it. I think when we get it put on the new truck is somewhere between like 60 and 80,000 for that piece. To put on the dump
I
body
think
and the
that's
sand.
plow and wing and everything, isn't it?
I don't know. That's what
I
I'm
think so.
asking.
Yeah, I don't know.
I believe that is plow, wing plow, side dump, and spinner.
Okay, so then maybe the 15 isn't such a hot idea, but it's up to you guys. If you want us to keep looking, we will. If not, we'll.
I would say keep looking.
Or, yeah, I mean, if we can save the truck, then
Have you guys just, and I have no idea if they even have any sitting there, just throwing an idea out, the place up in Orford, the media blasting place, do they have any beds sitting around that they have cleaned up and repaired?
I didn't call them. I called, Tonto.
Doug Thompson,
They don't have any.
Try,
Just
just for the sake of it, try up there,
okay.
and maybe AGT might have something kicking around too.
HP Fairfield doesn't have any. Danko, I'm still waiting here. I mean, Danko doesn't have any. I'm still waiting to hear back from. Viking size.
Yeah. So and again, if they're sparse, I don't know, I have no idea whether they buy beds, repair them and sell them or not, but I think it's definitely worth at least calling to find out.
Got no idea.
And then maybe, like I say, the ATG, they might have something, maybe they got in a rig or something. What was it, the town of Sharon, a couple of years ago, something like that? I'll dig into it a little bit too, because I remember looking at a truck that the town of Sharon totaled the front cab out on. So maybe, but I don't think we just pulled the trigger on something yet, I think. Yeah,
yeah, we got time.
yeah.
Next thing on the agenda, Jerusalem Road amended permits. What's that?
I talked to Horizons about getting the permits amended for Jerusalem Road to switch over to plastic culverts. And Mike Duffy indicated it wasn't that big a job to do, but it's supposed to give me a number, so as soon as I get the number, I'll do a purchase on it. It requires a stream crossing permit and wetlands permits because of the size of the crossing. So we'll see what the number is, but we can't exactly go back and ask Michi to amend the permit if Michi only did it because of the concrete precast. So we gotta get somebody else. They can take all the paperwork and everything else and then adjust it. According to Michael, it probably isn't that big of an adjustment.
Let's see, so we're just adjusting. how
Yeah, we gotta get the
to
permit to
change
fit the
to fit the color.
installation.
Okay.
All right, next thing, storage trailer for supplies and equipment in Coast Corner. How much is in there?
Oh, fair amount. What is your guess, Julie?
Yeah, there's all the chairs that we got from. Racetrack. And
The skating
the
rink.
skating rink. And I don't know, there's a lot of stuff over there that. They gotta look at, because.
Is any of it worth keeping?
Anything.
Really? Is it
Some of
worth
it
spending
isn't.
$6
Some
grand
of
on
it
it?
isn't.
Well, the skating rink is about a 10 grand item, and
Yeah,
if we got rid of it, we're not gonna have another one.
Yeah.
And the chairs, you got 150 chairs that were good quality that came out of Cannon Hall.
Yep.
So if you're ever gonna get a community center, you got 150 chairs, you don't have to buy.
Yeah. Believe me.
we can put them in
anybody
the
who saw
freight
my
shed.
garage before it burned knows
We can put them in the
I'm
freight
not in
shed.
favor of throwing stuff away.
I gotta have a freight shed. Well,
Yeah.
I
that's a good
made a
idea, honestly.
proposal to buy an overseas container, and you could sell the overseas container afterward. But if you were to rent one, that doesn't pay, it costs, if you're gonna keep it in storage for a year or 2 years, it's gonna be cheaper to just go buy it. I looked all over for a cheaper one. We have gotten one, we have one over at the transfer station, and we only paid $3,000 for that one. But I can't find anything, and it's all locked up now by, it's like a combination of United Rental and Pac Van working together. So you can't find anything anymore. There used to be 2 or 3 companies. Ford used to do it. Tilton used to do it. A bunch of places did it. Lucky's did it, but you can't find them anymore. They're all merged.
So so if we were only getting a storage container for short term and then we could sell it, where would the stuff go at that point.
I don't know.
in the-
Unless you come up with a better place for it, it could go any place.
I think that's the general consensus.
But it's relatively cheap storage and we couldn't.
So have you looked into buying any of those? Because I went to Pac Van about my property and they told me they're not selling anything. They're making more money on rentals than they
I put
are.
the email in here. That's okay.
I don't, I mean, do we throw around the idea of storing this in the freight shed or in the back part of the log cabin store that?
Well, if you want to sell the log cabin store. Huh?
That's being sold, right?
Yeah, it is. but
Eventually, yeah.
Yeah, eventually.
They're saying basically move it in and then move it back out.
Well, we're gonna move it into a storage container and then move it back out.
Maybe not. So
Here's another
this is the email on the price.
Oh, okay, that's not in the back, yeah. Well, this is United, all right.
You
that's
know,
a-
there is another option. Kick some of the stuff out of the other three. We have 3 Connex containers right now.
That's,
Right.
that's what I was gonna say, there's one out here, I think that may be almost empty that the PD has.
So we
I'm
can
not sure if they
consolidate.
really
some
use
of
it.
That's their evidence.
They use it for their,
Okay.
But if you're asking one, that's fine. I can't give you the one at the transfer station. Because it's dedicated to recycling and that's what it's being, actually, it's being used for. I think it's used for tires, but the long and short of it is it's already committed, it's committed under a grant, so we actually paid for it with a grant. I can't do that. We haven't talked about hazardous waste, but if the hazardous waste program continues, you can't use the utility trailer, which is what Louis' first thought was. And I'm not sure that the utility trailer would take it all anyway, but the long and short of it is we make money off of Grafton doing the hazardous waste for Grafton, and then it uses the utility trailer to move it. So, there's, well, as you said, there's no, you can't get them. So this is a way, I mean, the worst that happens if you find a better use for it, you know. Next year, 6 months from now, 2 years from now, whenever, you can always sell it because the market is always there for the storage containers.
What's on the log cabin store? We're waiting on windows, right?
Yeah, I don't know what's happening in the windows.
And,
Oh, we're waiting for a survey.
survey.
oh, okay.
So Sanborn said he was gonna get it to me within a month or two. Well,
Yep.
it's been a month or two, so I haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
Which I'll deal with that one later too. We may need to do additional survey. But, so
For
anyway,
what?
for Vegas property, we need to talk about that.
Scott.
How about checking with Vinny, get maybe he's got one of the old,
Yeah.
enclosed tractor trailer unit,
Oh, a
try, all enclosed.
I'm
Now, you
fine
might
with-
be able to pick up one of them for, who knows, $750 or $1,000.
I'm fine with any of those options.
Okay,
Is the freight house an option?
Well, I mean, it's gonna complicate them doing sills and stuff like that, but I mean, there's a lot of space in there, so.
There is. I actually went in the
Yes,
building
yeah, I did
and
too.
looked around. There's a
Yeah.
lot, so.
You're gonna have to, if you're gonna sell.
no,
Well, we're not selling the freight
no,
house.
no,
are
we
we?
got Judith doing all this work on the freight house. I'm assuming we're keeping that.
Honestly, that is an option that I feel like we should at least look into before we just dismiss
Well,
it.
if Judith is gonna reach out to you, can you just ask her how that would complicate?
I will, absolutely. And then I can meet with her and go in and look some different areas
Right.
over.
Why'd you do that?
And if, I mean, as much money as we can keep from the sale of the Cozy Corner is really optimal, right? So at this point, if the money for all the closing and this and that, and we do this, we're
How
already.
close are we to the
20 or
closing?
25
We gotta
grand out.
close within the next 30 days. Okay, and I gotta write the deeds up, so that's what's taking us to 30 days. And to do that, I gotta make sure I got the most recent stuff from the survey to do that. And she would like it as soon as possible. I frankly, I'm up to my ears right now, so I might get it done by maybe the first week of July, but I wouldn't bet on it. Sometime around the second week of July, they're gonna wanna schedule a closing. So we gotta get everything out of it. Let me get the junk out of there. And there's file cabinets full of town records that can come out of there. And there's a lot of toys and crap for recreation that can come out there, and used furniture is in there. And there's some other stuff, the playground equipment, there's playground equipment that theoretically goes on the playground on Williams Field. That's in there, and then the chairs and the skating. So it's gonna take us time to move this stuff. Whatever you wanna do is fine with me. But the time frame is 4 weeks.
Yeah, okay,
So maybe it wouldn't hurt to at least ask Vinny if he's got a old
yeah, Sharon.
truck frame.
Judith had called this week because someone had been getting into the freight house again. She and Gary have been boarding it up. Someone took off the boards. They put on new boards this weekend. The police have now been alerted, but be aware if you do put something in the freight house, that it may need to be really secured.
Okay.
Okay, Judith, thank you.
So I'm not, Lloyd, you wanna try Vinny and see?
Yep, I can see.
I'm not gonna do anything, I'm just gonna leave it.
All right, next thing is tractor brakes and radiator. We just got that tonight. I'd really like to look this over.
Okay, the brakes have to be done, and both of them have to be done, so if you could. Is it
I just-
possible to tell me so I can put a purchase order in on whatever your decision is? Because Louis was putting in fluid into the brakes again.
Not very.
Yeah, so, I mean, the fact of the matter is, we're gonna have to do something.
So you're putting fluid into the rear end, not into the brakes? Is that
Yeah.
what you said?
But it's leaking out. Brakes don't
Right.
take fluid, they're air.
Yeah, but not as,
But it's leaking out the steel.
Leaking on the seal, yeah.
so,
So what do you need, a consensus that we're going to repair it?
I need to get a repair.
Yeah.
I mean, the radiator is shot. So I don't care if you wanna look at it, can somebody give me a consensus to say what you want me to do, so I can do a purchase order, so we can get it underway sometime before our next meeting, which is what's that, July 5th, so that's another 2-3 weeks.
How much did we pay for that truck originally?
Be 8 or 9 grand.
8 or 9 grand. Can we just go buy another truck?
Not without rebuilding the truck.
Oh, we paid 8 or 9 grand and we rebuilt that from day one.
We put in what?
Look, I'm asking you a question.
Yeah, I
Mike,
know,
so-
I'm trying to answer it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have put in kind of stuff this year. This is the most we've ever put in. Okay, so we put in 10 grand into the truck. And then we put in now, if not counting this work here, we probably put in another 12 grand. So we got 22 plus 7, so we got 29,000, and we've used it for 7 years. So 7 years for 29,000 is 4 grand a year. Whatever we do, we're gonna continue to pump money in. I'm an advocate of buying used equipment. I bought that truck. So I believe in buying used equipment. On the other hand, I know if you buy used equipment, you gotta repair it. So the question is, anybody know what a new truck is? Louis, you got any idea? 110 maybe,
I bet easily.
110 to 120,000. So
I'm not talking about buying a new truck.
I know you're not, but I'm just saying, you asked the question, I gave the answer. 7 grand, 10 grand, and probably another 12 grand on top of it. That includes what we spent so far this year.
So around 30 plus the purchase.
No, I said 7. 7 is a purchase, plus 10, plus 12.
Okay.
So can you just go through what these different estimates are, Mike?
Yep, so ATG, which is basically Freightliner. They've got for the brakes on the first page. It's relatively simple. It's not what we originally got from Ironworks. It's 622, and that would be sufficient. And by the way, JR wants to be quoted correctly. JR said the only thing he's ever asked for is to get the brake seals fixed. So to make it clear. So I just want to make that clear. So 622 is the brakes. It's on the first page. We asked them to give us a number on the replace the radiator system, which is supposed to be the whole job for the radiator, and including got a block on it. The,
Water pump.
no, the water pump isn't in here. That could be more. I don't think any of them have. Is that true, Louis?
Yeah, I don't think it even has water pump.
But they do have thermostats on some of them.
Yeah, ABG had thermostat, hoses,
So their price was 4,300. Then the next one in is on page 3. It's got Sable and Sons of the Path. Their radiator was 6485 and the brakes were 1,016. So the both of those numbers are higher than the AGT ones, ATG ones. Then the last one was Ironworks, who gave us, it says that invoice, it was never invoiced, but it's the only way you can send us anything. Was for the 3443 for the thermostat, and the brakes were 6,000, and that was completely rebuilding the brakes. And I think that's been tossed at this point. We're obviously not gonna do that one, so.
Even these radiator prices are all over the place.
Yep.
So just, go ahead, Bill.
What little bit I have seen and read on this, my understanding is the $6,000 was an estimate for parts. It was not a set in stone number.
Right, that's correct. Now that they don't have labor.
Right, what I'm just saying is that was a, if I have to replace every part, this is what probably the cost will be.
Yes, I think that's.
It was
So that's
more
not
of a,
the
we
same
plan on
thing.
replacing every part, and this is what the cost is gonna be.
What?
It was more of a, we plan on, not an if.
I would disagree.
That's fair, that's fair enough, we can agree to
I've
disagree.
used the guy for a lot of work of my own. I understand how he works.
Somehow there's a misconception that I have a problem with ironworks, so let's try to get that cleared out right now. I have no problem with ironworks, I don't even know who they are or who you are. I have never had a vehicle come there, brought from there, never talked to anybody that's had anything worked on in my life. I have no problem with ironworks. I have a problem with spending our money to fix a junk truck. Just to clear the air so it's publicly known right now. I don't have a problem with ironworks at all. I hope you guys have a great business. I hope you do a great job on people's rigs. Just for the record.
Fine. That's not where I was going with that.
Sure.
What I'm saying is your estimates are not apples to apples. And
Agreed.
so be
Yes.
careful about taking that number and comparing it to the $600, because if
Agreed.
you ask him to do, let's replace this wheel seal, his number is not gonna come in.
Agreed.
They're actually, we disagreed with that and said that they were way lower than what they should have been.
This is ATG.
Yes, that's what
But
he
you know,
said.
no, that's not true. That's a misquote because as was stated, the only thing ATG was asked about was a leaking wheel seal.
No, they were not.
Well, that was what was said.
They
So
were
I
asked
can't-
to
I-
check the brakes.
Look,
and tell
listen,
me what was wrong with
well,
it.
they obviously didn't check the brakes because if you read further into this, on the back side of the Sable, you're up to $8,000 worth of brake work.
That's not $8,000 worth of brake
And
work.
it needs
That's
different
including the
cans.
radiator.
Louis, I'm not gonna argue with you. You know what? If you do your job, everything will be great. But here's
All
the
right.
thing.
We're not gonna get
So
into
we
this
have,
again.
This
we
isn't
have,
what we're here for.
we have everything. It's right here, Dan. Is the truck still being driven?
Yes.
Okay. So you have a dangerous truck that is a liability to the employees of the town and the insurance of the town that's out there on the road.
So do me a favor and take it off the road and replace it with something else, because I don't want the truck here, period.
Well, here's what
So
it's
that
gonna
solves
take.
it all for
Here's
me.
what it's gonna take to fix it.
Right.
It's all right here. So now you have a fair and honest estimate.
And I also
I don't care who you get to do the work. I don't want this truck going down the road, blowing something and running into my son while he's on his way home from work. That's the point at which this truck is at.
Louis, didn't we set it up to be inspected?
Yes, yeah.
Has it been inspected yet?
For no, that truck hasn't been inspected yet. They inspected the brakes for me at AGG.
And what
They
did
went
it say?
through and they told me there was one wheel seal leak. And they were replacing they needed to replace the wheel seal and the brakes on that side because they have oil on.
I just want to make it clear, there's two different ideas of what needs to be done on the bridge. I'm not saying who's right or wrong, I'm just saying there's two different ideas.
That's not entirely true, Mike. There's three different
What's
ideas.
the other?
There's Ironworks,
So I will tell you.
there's ATG, and there's what's here on the back of the state west, which
Facilities in the-
says that it needs cans, it has incorrect cans, hardware kits.
Saying it's only wheel cylinders, it's not.
Maxi can repositions and incorrect holes and binding at the open club. That's why we've had to redirect, that's why we've had to adjust those brakes 3 times.
But it's still. 1100.
All right.
I think we've got,
Yeah, so let me just run this, Louis, you can answer this maybe. So if we do what ATG is asking to do, that way we're not dumping bazillions of dollars into this truck. That's gonna make it safe on the road?
Yes, according to them, they're not gonna put a truck on the road, they have a big business.
Okay,
They're not gonna
so,
take the chance of somebody getting hurt after just had brake work done. Agreed.
well, then I would say that that's where we start. It may bite us in the ass later on, but for now, I would say,
I'd say 1/3 is not good odds.
I would say that ATG is a reputable business. I think all of them, including yourself, I can't speak for yourself, so I don't know, but I'm guessing you're not, right? But I do know that we bring a lot of things and we do a lot of business with ATG. I've met the owner of ATG, I've toured their facilities to give out a couple estimates. I did not get to work, so it has nothing to do with greasing my pockets. They awarded it to someone else, thankfully, because I have too much going anyway. But their facility and their operations, and they're buying up Freightliner facilities, and I do believe that they are not going to inspect the brakes on a truck and say that it's only a wheel cylinder if it needs a host of other things. I just have to believe
Even if
that.
there's 2 contradicting statements.
Yes, even if there's 2 contradicting statements.
this is where we're gonna
Yep.
start,
Yep, so, right,
okay? So the
Mhm.
consensus is go ahead
Absolutely.
and have ATG fix that.
So I'll call
Yep.
in the morning and schedule.
Yeah.
it.
And what's the radiator situation?
Complete
How,
disservice to
It was a
everybody
little
that
bit
has any
higher than
contact.
everybody else.
it is.
let's say that again, hold on.
The
So,
radiator for them was a little bit higher than.
yeah, but not as high as Sable and stuff. Right. But I mean, what's the time, the radiator is junk?
Yeah, they said it needs to be replaced.
Has anybody called the radiator repair facility in Claremont to see, because I do know. I mean, I'm no diesel mechanic or certified mechanic, but I do know a little bit about vehicles, and I do know that if you go buy a radiator right now, it's gonna be a worthless piece of junk, just like everything else that you purchase that is new right now. And if you have anything that can be repaired that's a little bit older, it's worth repairing. I know a lot of people don't turn rotors anymore, but if you had rotors on an old truck, you'd be better off turning them than buying new ones. They're gonna last you longer. So if this is an old brass radiator that actually has real parts in it and we can get it repaired, maybe we can get it repaired for a whole lot less than $4-something grand.
So let's start with the brake sale,
Yeah,
all right? That's the consensus, Mike.
Louis, can you call down to the radiator repair place and see if it's even an option? Okay, I appreciate it.
All right. Next thing, meeting on water and sewer combined with highway and household hazardous waste.
I had a meeting with John and Jason, John Coffey and Jason, and Louis and myself to talk about staffing issues and Jason's desire for some improvement. And we worked on it for a couple of hours and looked at the money side, and there's different interests for different people. So on Coffey's side, he doesn't have $50,000 to put in a full-time second person, and there's no way to get it. The total budget is $200,000, so you can't just plop in another $30,000 or $40,000 into the budget without it causing problems for the ratepayers. We need to have somebody else that has licenses and is trained in the water and sewer plant. It's under the law, we have to have coverage 7 days a week, 24 hours a day at the wastewater and water plants. we do it, but it's a real trick, and coffee ends up getting the most, maybe 3 days up in order to pull that off. So we talked about the need for the licenses. In case anybody's interested, it's now 11 licenses that this person has to have to be able to run the water system, the sewer system. And we threw into the top of it hazardous waste, because that was the other part of the equation, but just on water and sewers, 10 licenses. That means that somebody has to be willing to study and take the exams for all 10 of those licenses. We anticipate it's going to be about 2 years to get the licenses. So that's John's. He needs somebody in there that's the second person. The person has to have tons of licenses. And it's got to be affordable for the ratepayers. Louis' situation is he needs a highway worker, and he needs a highway worker that is reliable, and Jason is currently there. So if Jason were to swing over to water and sewer, it's going to strap him by Jason. So that was number 2. Number 3, I agreed that we would look at household hazardous waste to see if we could come up with a creative solution. I think I called at least 1 or 2 of you and talked to you about saying, well, I'm going to at least talk this through. So at the meeting, we looked at numbers and responsibilities and trying to cover the highway department. I tied it, I can do it without impacting the highway department. It impacts government buildings, but if I do government buildings differently for the summer care and maintenance, then I can do the whole thing within the existing budget. So what does that mean? What we agreed to was somewhere between 1/3 of the time and half of the time, Jason would either be studying for his tests or working with John. And the agreement was at least half of the time working with John is to learn the actual skills he would need to take the test. So he would have to learn the specific skills. That doesn't mean he works in every job, although he got stuck in the job when the force main blew out on the sewer line. But he would have to learn all the tests, meaning all the record keeping, taking the readings, posting the readings, doing the paperwork for the state, all that stuff he would have to learn. And he would study, and it would take him 2 years. So what we came up with was the following, and the town has to know if we're going to invest in Jason, is he going to be here? This is the same issue we've had in the past with Jordan when she got her paramedic certification, her training and license. So what we did was we came up with an agreement that for every license he earns, he has to commit to staying 8 months. Okay, so 10 licenses would be 80 months. With 2 of those, 24 months is going to be in the training period. So it means basically he would stick around, have to stick around for 5 or 6 years afterward in exchange for us funding all the licenses. Okay. Yeah, did you? Oh, wait, give me a second. So that seems to work okay. JR is happy with all of that because it gets to pick up
John, you mean?
skills. No, I'm sorry, John.
Yep.
John was happy with it because he would have a person. Jason is happy with it because he would pick up all the skills that are remarkable skills. He's understanding. And Louis, if I say anything you don't think is right, feel free to tell me I'm not right. But he's willing to put in the time to earn all those licenses. His value in the workplace, in the marketplace would be astronomical because there aren't many licenses left going. He would get most of them. And Louis is going to be short manpower because of that, anywhere from 1/3 to a half a person. On the other hand, when we're filling the slots, there is a person that was half-time government buildings and half-time highway, all right? So in the budget draft that I just finished on this morning, I got rid of the half-time highway person working with government buildings and put in just part-time. We're using a part-time person now. The cost of a part-time person is cheap on a per hourly basis. It's cheap because there's no benefits. So if you look at balancing the money that was in water and sewer for this position with what is in highway, highway nets out at a positive, roughly a positive half-time position because it gets rid of the part that was in government buildings. And then the part that is Jason's part for training and for actually working in water and sewer would be paid for out of the water and sewer budget, so that works. The only part that wasn't discussed at that meeting is on transfer station, that is, we have an opening there, well, let's deal with just this part. Any questions about that, moving people around?
What's the time frame for John retiring?
4 years is what is the most recent statement to me.
I mean, that seems like a good planning step in the right direction. Because we're gonna have a tough time replacing him with a license.
Oh, let me also talk about hazardous waste, because I was clearly part of it. I made it clear that John's training and experience surpasses anybody in the town on chemistry. His degree in college was in chemistry. He worked for Enpro at one point, so he understands hazardous waste and all about it. He would have supremacy on the types of processes to make sure we're following the rules on the types of the processes, but not on the implementation of the processes. So that means on actually implementing the rules, it would be up to Jason. Sending the shipments out would be up to Jason, record keeping would be up to Jason. That assures a better operation, let's put it that way, in terms of carry through, follow through with performance, and it assures that the expertise is still there for the overall oversight of the program. John would help out still on bulking, because that's really all that goes on locally is we bulk materials by their characteristics. If any of you want to see it, what I did do is I have shots in the office of 15 depots that look like ours around the countryside. And there's like 4 in Vermont, and you can take a look at them. They look very similar to what John's garage looked like, except for all the parts and tools and everything else he has scattered all over the garage. But so the process being used was fine, other than, and I've told everybody this, there was one problem that was illegal. And that was on the barrel where we bulk paint. There's a grate on top of the barrel. So the way it works is you pop the top of the cans, you pour the cans into the barrel. You take a spatula, clean out the inside of the barrel, put it in the barrel. There's a grate. You let the can sit on the grate for a couple of hours until it drains out. Take the can, put the top back on, toss it in the trash. That's what the process is. Every time the day is done doing that, it should have the barrel top going on it. It wasn't going on the latex, but on the other hand, latex isn't a hazardous waste. So I don't know that it was really illegal. It's just a question that it really, for practice purposes, it ought to have the cover going back on it every time that he's done with it for the day.
All right, so when does Jason start?
It's up to you, whenever you want to start.
When do the classes start?
They're all during the year. It
Okay.
just, he was starting on whenever it's going. We could get him. into-
Well, I think it's a good idea. What do you guys think?
I do.
You know,
Is there a consensus on that?
Yep.
Okay.
all right,
But a follow-up on that, then are we sticking with the hazardous waste if we do that? There's no reason not to at this point.
for now.
Yeah, I think for now, we'll see how it goes. If they can
Yep.
rein it in and get things rolling, perfect. If not, then
Okay,
we revisit.
do you want to talk about the transfer station one next?
Transfer
Yeah,
station.
this is critical because it's already in place. It's just, it's a good fit. We have a temporary, not temporary, we have a part-time position at the transfer station that we've filled at least 4 times in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
And the most recent one was William Williford, which didn't work. It's a difficult job. Nobody really wants it. Hugh had it for a while. And nobody really likes the job. It's on Saturdays in particular, which nobody likes doing. As it turns out, Barry Geddes loves the job. Now, you remember this, the other 2 won't, but when we first, 10 years ago, we put Barry on the transfer station.
Yeah.
And he hated it because he is not a people person, let's put it that way. He's changed. His attitude is different, his personality is different, he loves Not only that, but he was the one that implemented the change in how the recyclables are loaded to get the most bang for the buck, for the recyclables. Okay. So the idea would be to take 3 days a week, not 5 days a week, but take him for 3 days a week and put him over at the transfer station doing the recycling, which is the 3 most busy days, which includes Saturday. And he would do the recycling. So he would take those hours, which are roughly 18 hours a week, out of the transfer station budget. And it's a few bucks an hour more than what's currently in there. But it's not going to amount to a hill of beans in terms of what the transfer station budget is. And then that would reduce the amount of money coming out of government buildings, which would also offset most of the cost of using his brother Shane, who has been working for 2 years as a part-time worker in the summertime to do the summer work.
Yeah.
So in the wintertime, Barry would still be doing the sidewalks and all that crap. It might not be done as quick as he's been doing it. But the offset to that, thanks to Louis, Barry can now use the tractor with the snow blower on the sidewalks. So it will save time for highway. It gives Barry better equipment to use for the snow removal in the village. And I think that's a win-win situation. So my recommendation, we're already doing that right now. He's already working at the transfer station right now. And I'd leave it alone. It seems to be working.
So who picks up the slack for the stuff that he's not doing as far as buildings and grounds and all that sort of stuff?
In the summertime, it would be his brother Shane. And he's there. So.
Right, he's already been here.
Yeah,
so-
and likewise, Barry is already working at the transfer station.
Yeah.
So really, as long as we keep Shane in, Shane is not a permanent part-time. He is an emergency part-time. And theoretically, when we hired the new guy for highway, we could have assigned half of that person to work in government buildings. But the pay is going to be significantly different. And if we can do government buildings for less, then do it as a.
Okay, so the consensus will be to leave it as it is. You okay with that? Yeah, okay.
Okay,
All right.
that's it.
Next thing on the agenda is the location of the selectmen meetings for July and August. Typically, they've been at the meeting house. I'd like to continue that, but
We
Sarah?
tried everything I could think of to get a decent sound, but the lag is too big. And so the Zoom meeting would just be unintelligible.
What happens is if I'm speaking like this, what I just said to you will
Yeah.
show up 20 seconds later to anybody else. Likewise, if they're speaking, it'll show up 20 seconds later. So if you're watching a mouth move, but no voice.
it doesn't bother me, but it's up to you two.
It's a hotspot is the only way to put, unless we hardwire the meeting house. So we have played with those ideas.
we'll-
This isn't the.
We're not gonna do that.
I'm in favor of staying here so we can keep Zoom going, so.
As am I.
Well, there you go.
Consensus?
Aye.
You want to vote no?
No, yeah, no. I'd
So
rather
I will
go to-
change the notices in the website for Flash and all that.
All right,
And
So
I'm
we-
okay with changing the
And
time
at
though.
6 PM, right?
Yeah,
6 PM for July and August, yeah.
all right. So we've got a few things out of business here. One of them is a forbearance agreement. We need to discuss that in non-public.
It's up to you.
What do you want to do?
Probably not.
Okay.
Right?
All right, so the other thing is the contract for the accountants. Same one as usual.
Yep.
And I need you two to vote to allow me to sign it.
So who is the accountant?
Vashon Cloquet and Company.
I guess I would ask kind of the same thing you did with the, I haven't even seen it, so.
When's that due?
Right away. It's boilerplate. It doesn't,
Well, why don't you let them look at it? We can come in and sign it before the end of the week.
that's fine.
Do that.
Sure.
All right.
That works for you, Steven?
We've got an application for a junkyard permit at NATO's on Route 4. They apply every year. I think we just need a motion to approve.
I would put in a motion to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so I have to sign it. Today's the 21st. Right, there's that, and this other one is application for reimbursement to towns and cities on which federal and state forest land is situated.
Yeah, so that has to be filed every year and the state is tax exempt, so they make a payment in lieu of taxes to the town. We have to fill in the amount of the assessed valuation for that property, which I've done, and I need your signature. So I can get
So there's two forms here, we signing, are they the same? You've got it's the Department of Revenue, and then this one here for the federal. They
The
both
one
have,
you
they
need
both
to
have to be
sign-
signed.
The one you need to sign is the one on the right. I'm not sure what the other one is.
Says to sign on both.
Oh, yeah, let me check. No, you're right. I thought this was attached to this. I gotta check on this, sign that one. This all got changed this year. Yeah, well, it's the reporting on deeds and stuff. Ordinarily, we get the PA 38 forms from any sale, 28 forms from any sale, and we're not getting all that stuff anymore.
All right, do we have any other business?
Hi, I'm Susan Nero and I'm the co-chair of the Canaan Museum Curators, and just a small formality. We're really excited. We elected 3 new curators. I need you guys to just approve that election.
Who are they?
Alton Hennessy, Jan Kulik, Daryl Robbins,
Okay,
and they serve 3-year terms, something like that, so. Just need you to okay it.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Yeah, I would second
Thank
it.
all in favor?
Aye.
I'm glad you're excited for it. Sounds like, yeah.
Right. Sure.
Hey, my name is Vishal Nivarajan. I've been a resident of Canaan for 2 years now. We moved here in 2020. I've got a request from the town of Riga, or the road, Riga Road, to get speed bumps on that road. So for the last 2 years, there's been a huge increase in traffic and we've had a lot of incidents where people have almost been hit. My wife the other day almost got hit by a speeding vehicle and ended up in the bushes with that whole corner. So we have reported it multiple times to Canaan PD. There's not much they can do at the moment. I've had a chat to Chief Hennessy at the fire department. Fire department sees no issues with putting up speed bumps. The road is amenable to working with the town to get the speed bumps financed if that is an issue. Because of the length of the road, we'll probably need 6 or 7 speed bumps. So what happens is at nighttime, we have races coming up the road. Last Tuesday, I believe we had 2 cars side by side up the road at 2 in the morning. So Stephen can hear them starting up at that to the end of Regan Road, and they come out 118 the other end. In winter, we have 4 to 5 vehicles go up in Todd Darling's land, and we have to pull them out ourselves. There have been violent incidents where we go and try and tell people to slow down, and they will do stuff. We're known as the dump access road. At the moment, we are not the dump access road. We pick up a lot of trash off the road as well. So used syringes. I picked up a box of ammunition that is currently sitting in my garage that fell off somebody's truck as they were driving through.
What caliber?
38.
Would you like to sell it?
I do own a 38, so if you want 38 ammunition, they're welcome to take it from me. So yeah, there's a lot of vehicle traffic, and when we had the detour, when it became temporary 118, it was incredible. A lot of the traffic that's coming through is skirting past the safety complex at night. I'm guessing they don't want to go in front of any police vehicles that are parked there at night. So anyway, we can get speed bumps on that road.
Did you talk to Sam as well?
Yeah, it's been an issue for 2 years. I've spoken with the.
And you're talking about like the same thing that's on High Street,
Yeah.
that type of speed bump?
Yeah. But because of the length of Regan Road and the way it's shaped, they start speeding up at Stevens House, they'll come Dukes of Hazzard over the crest, they'll go down into that intersection and then straight past Todd Darling's land.
You want to get prices on that, Louis?
Sure. Yeah. Did you have any prices? Have you put together any?
No, I haven't, I had a quick look, they range anywhere from 100 to 150 for the speed bumps that are installed on High Court, depending on bulk prices, but I'm happy to do some costing. I just need someone from the town to advise what the process is, because I've never done any costing.
One thing that, just check with him, or somebody needs to check with him about, it's gonna go from 2 speed bumps to 9. So if that means that they have to be put in every spring and taken out.
We can also negotiate whether there's gonna be that many or.
Okay.
Right,
I just saying that.
Yeah, if there's an expert in this sort of thing that can advise, like, again, I only counted the amount of spots where
Yeah.
we would need to slow them down, so if there's a number that somebody could advise on, that'd be fine. All we wanna do is just get the traffic slowing down to speed, because we have about 6 kids that play on the road regularly.
No, absolutely. Again,
Do they pull them in the winter?
Yes.
Yes.
What about doing the wide asphalt ones? Then you wouldn't have to call them out.
The wide asphalt.
Like a,
Or-
like
They're
a,
like
a hum.
6 feet. And they're humps, you can plow over them, and
Wouldn't be bad,
they're like 8 feet.
but- Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking
Whatever,
about.
just look into costs.
When you hit those, you'll know it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're called speed tables and they're just made,
Yeah.
they're built up with concrete with asphalt, so.
Yeah, I mean, we can look into it. Price of asphalt may not be worth it.
I was gonna, that's what I was just saying.
But you don't have to take them out and come back.
Yeah, it's not,
It would, yeah, it would save the time.
yeah, I mean, it doesn't take, it takes a couple hours to put those 3 in that you do now, so.
Mark?
I was just over at the basketball court over at the park. And there is a sinkhole. It's a big divot. And I was wondering if the town could maybe patch that.
Where is it?
What's going on with that, and maybe clean up those cracks and seal.
Is it where, in the field or in the?
Is it in the
It's
basketball
in the
court?
basketball.
Oh, in the
court.
basketball.
The court itself, yeah.
So I'm worried about
Yeah,
it getting done before home days,
yeah.
because I would hate for somebody to go down there.
It's a
and
definite
step on the hole.
liability, for sure.
Is that where they put the holes in for the tent? No,
No, it's in,
I have a picture of it.
yeah, I haven't seen it since it's got as bad as you're saying, but I know there was a spot that was.
Yeah, there's
sinking.
no hole there, it's just that it goes,
Yeah,
so it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
I would say it's probably about 10 inches,
I'll take a look at it tomorrow.
and then if maybe we could, the grass doesn't go up in those cracks, if we can maybe seal that or do something with that before it, the whole thing crumbles and goes away.
yeah.
All right, any other business?
Time and money, my friend.
We're going in non-public. All right, thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yep. Well, Amy was here. She needs.